Now, most people are trying to make their way in life. And it's like looking at the fruits on a tree. They're looking at the fruits and the fruits and the fruits are not so good. Well, if the fruits are not so good, they forgot to look at the roots. If the roots are contaminated and corroded, the fruits can't be any good. So with this technique, you go into your subconscious mind, which is misunderstood, go in there easily, remove the negativity, correct those corroded roots, and then the fruits grow in a beautiful way. And it's called the Abundance Course, and the reason it's called the Abundance Course is because it's not about money, it's about health, happiness, success, and everything. We've had people, well, I could go on and tell you a million stories. Every illness that
just give one or two for our audience.
Well,
they would
there was a lady that had cancer, and she had a cyst on her neck, or a growth on her neck the size of a small grapefruit. And the doctors told her she had 4th stage cancer. Oh, thank you, doctor. Thank you for telling me I have 4th. I feel so much better. I don't know why they tell those people that. So
such a relief.
Such a relief. So she called me up. She ordered the tapes overnight. You can order it on a telephone, or you can order it on the internet. And I worked with her. And in a few months, the whole thing disappeared. The doctors couldn't figure it out. It just totally disappeared. And that's happened with lots and lots of people. We had another lady that showed up in one of our retreats. Her cousin is a psychologist, and told her about it. She had had 10 operations, had 2 discs placed in her back. They were going to have another operation with her. And what happened was she came and took the course. In 2 days, she was dropped a cane, no more medication, running around. We played it. We have a thing called, it's like musical chairs we do sometimes, just for kidding around. It's called musical feelings. And she was running around, knocking people over, grabbing the chair, and all the other stuff. And she didn't have to have the operation. And that's happened with people getting rid of migraine headaches, depression, anxiety. In 1 weekend, they get rid of anxiety, depression. Now, if you go to a doctor, all they know is know how to diagnose you. Okay?
Sure.
Okay, great. Now that you told me I have depression, can you help me get rid of it? You want me to get rid of it? I don't know how to get rid of it myself. I'll tell you what, you come and talk to me forever while I make my Mercedes payments, or we'll dope you up. That's it. And it never fixes anything. They stay that same way. Yes. And so with this technique, you don't get dependent on us. You don't have to come see us anymore. You learn how to work the technique. You get rid of what bothers you, and that's it. So there is no guru. You become your own guru. G-U-R-U. You become your own guru, and therefore you take care of yourself, and you learn how to master yourself, and it's easy to do. We've had people getting rid of, I mean, today they have all these diseases, ODC, ABC, CDY. If the doctors don't know what it is, they make up a name, and they got all these fancy names, because I talk to hundreds of people a day, and I am available for people. Once they learn how to use the technique, I'll be happy to talk to them and help them if they need help.
Wonderful.
Fortunately, most people don't need it. It's so well taught that they don't really need anybody, but we're here to help you, and if you need it...
And you do the teaching.
Yes.
So, it's well taught.
We even do have a live class coming up here in New York City on November 18th, 19th, and 20th, right here on 14th Street at the Monument Center, which is a nice place. I think you know the lady who runs it. And we use the facility. It's beautiful, right on the East River.
The water, exactly.
And so on. And it's it's a step-by-step of how to get rid of the technique. How to get rid of the technique.
Don't get rid of the technique. Release everything but the technique.
How to get rid of what bothers you. And do it really simple, and it's fantastic.
Let's bring Dr. Dave Durant on, who will give me a little idea, and the audience, of the another part of the scientific aspect of what you're doing.
Wonderful.
Because I think it's great work.
Good.
Just don't release the technique.
All right, don't do that.
Okay. Larry, it's been great to have you.
All right,
it's
my
a
pleasure.
very empowering process you've been teaching for all these years, and I think the world is really a better place for it.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
This is the new look for a better world. Thanks to David Durant. Hi.
Hi.
Glad to have you, Doctor.
Nice to be here. David is fine, by the way.
Okay. What is it that's going on? What am I wearing? What am I doing?
Well, it's called an iCap, and it's basically a 2-electrode EEG device, electroencephalogram device, that measures brainwave activity. But it was actually designed to specifically measure the releasing vector, which means the signal in the brain that constitutes releasing. And in a moment, we can look at the graph, and you can see
So
the reaction.
basically, there's a scientist or two at MIT and Stanford, as I understood from Larry.
They were trained there, yeah.
That were trained there, and they've been working on developing the software, which is essentially I guess a form of feedback, an EEG/feedback device. And it's measuring, they've managed to, as much as possible, isolate the variables that they believe constitute the process of releasing, as described by Lester and Larry.
Right. He spent about 2 years, and the person who was doing the research, a lot of the research, is a releaser himself. And if you put on an EEG device that you can buy for thousands of dollars, this is much less expensive. Those devices are measuring a variety of signals, and they're not focused in on the releasing signal of the brain. So that's the advantage of the iCap. It focuses in on what electrically is letting go. So if you have a meditator, say, who actually may feel calm, if they're not actually letting go of negative energy, there won't be a reaction. They'll stay high, and the signal won't drop.
Interesting, interesting. So basically you're saying it's not just a question of meditation and being relaxed. There's something else that's going on in the release technique that's measurable through this software.
That's what we believe, and it's being, of course, it's being tested on a wider and wider audience as it's being distributed.
Yeah, because you're just at the very beginning now. Right, exactly. Well, what is this saying about me, David?
You see the baseline. You have sort of a baseline of activity, and the amplitude of the waves is pretty low. But so there's a fair amount of quiet even while you've been talking to me. These little bumps are increased thought activity. And if you hold the intention to release, you're a releaser. You've taken the course from Larry.
Yes, I have.
So now we just got you to bump by focusing in on that. But again, as you hold the intention to release, you see that dive. That's a release. This drop here that just occurred is a release. And this is your low point here, which is 390. And that tells you the level of release that you've achieved during the session.
So in a certain way, what matters perhaps even more than the level is the drop, because it's the drop from one level to another that indicates the release.
I think it's both.
It's both,
yeah. But again,
this means I'm a relaxed releaser. That is a hyper releaser.
Yeah. What you find if you do a session of a half an hour, you'll find that you start out perhaps at a higher level if you come in off the street and you've been agitated about something. Yeah. And as you continue to release, you'll drop down to a lower and lower level. And as you practice with releasing, of course, you get better and better.
Now you've been doing this for a while.
Since 2003. One of the most profound exercises that Larry designed is called the freedom exercise, and I found by doing that I was able to drop down to the low 200s and below that. So the exercises are actually incorporated into the software, so you can be playing Larry's exercises while you're releasing and see your response on the screen.
That's wonderful. Well, I think this is really going to go far in helping the release technique get known even further than it is, and perhaps even the fulfillment of Lester Levinson's wish, which was to get this to 10% of the human population.
Right.
I really would like to see that, and I think this is a real help in that direction.
If people have stress, they're going to be able to see the response to stress reduction using the technique.
That's right, exactly. Well, thank you very much for at least showing us this briefly. Really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.
Sure. This is Mitchell J. Rabin for A Better World. Thanks so much for joining us. I hope you found that as interesting as I did, and I look forward to seeing you all next week.